Avery is with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Coach, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Good, man. Help us out with this. I don't know how much you follow some of the social trends. Have you heard about this Pokemon Go nonsense? Honestly, Coach, have you heard about this?
I have not. I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
I've been on a recruiting trail.
Okay,
so.
good. So we have somebody who's normal on the phone with us right now.
Stop.
That's a good thing.
Don't let him influence you.
No, I'm not. I'm complimenting him. You're with me, Coach. Let me ask you this. I'm messing around about that, but transitioning to the college game now. When you were playing, I mean, you signed your letter of intent back then. You go to college, you get a scholarship, you get some decent meals, and you go play ball. You do what you got to do. Now the recruiting has become so sophisticated with social media. Was it a hard transition for you to go from the NBA to the college ranks?
You know what? It really wasn't hard. Number one, I love people. I love interacting with people. So whether it's a parent or a recruit or high school coach, AAU coach, and if you love interacting with people and you have patience in, interviewing them or building a relationship, then you're in the right job. I think the other element is my son, 2 or 3 years ago, was a recruitable student athlete, so I was on the other side. I was the parent that was being interviewed by all of these different, high Division I programs, and he had some friends that were involved in the process, and some of his friends, had single parents, and, they asked, me for my advice from time to time or talk to coaches. So it was just it all came together at once. So when I made the transition to Alabama, it was a pretty smooth transition because I had been in the process recently. I had gone to a number of colleges to give speeches on leadership and management and offense and defense. So I had a chance to also interview coaches about the recruiting process. So it was pretty much a pretty seamless transition for me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you give that perspective because you've seen it then. The desire of some of these young athletes to make the jump early from college to the NBA, really to take care of those single parents or get themselves out of that lower socioeconomic situation that they're born into. Do you find dealing with that is difficult?
It's not difficult because I know the reality of it. Because I played in the league for 16 years and coached for 7+ years. I know the reality of it. It is not real for every player. I think it's like 0.1% of every high school player actually is going to make it to the NBA. I think the problem sometimes is when, some of the, coaches or parents have unrealistic expectations for a young man that doesn't have that skill set. Now, does he have the skill set to potentially come and play Division I basketball and contribute? Yes, but it's a pretty rare deal to make it to the NBA. You only have 60 draft picks, and I did the draft this year on NBA TV, and 15 of the first 30 picks in the first round were foreign-born players. So that's another element of the foreign players, in the NBA now. So it's sometimes it's just unrealistic expectations for a young man. It puts an enormous amount of pressure on him, and I think that's what contributes to all of these different transfers after a year or two in college, because everybody wants to become a pro and get there immediately, and it's not just going to be realistic for 100% of the players that's playing basketball.
That's just the way it is. I hear you, Coach. Avery Johnson with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. You mentioned your coverage with the draft, your involvement there. You referenced that, and I caught you on TV. And I'm curious, Ben Simmons, the comparison. Listen, we all know he's incredibly gifted, and he's got an all-around game. He's got to learn how to shoot a bit better, but we think that will come. You guys split with them, same conference. You played him twice. You flirted with triple-doubles a few times, so you saw him up close. When we hear the LeBron James light comparisons, I mean, is that just way over the top, or are you buying that to a degree?
I don't necessarily think it's way over the top. I think the problem is in this society now, especially with social media, and we did it obviously pre-social media, we just always feel gratifying in the gratification of wanting to compare a current NBA rookie to somebody in the past. So Ben Simmons just needs to be Ben Simmons. Does he have some of the gifts that LeBron have of being able to see the floor and handle the ball and great size? Is he, kind of like LeBron, a positionless player? Yeah, but I think Ben Simmons has a chance to make his own mark. He's a terrific player. I think he has a chance, as I've said, maybe one of the top defensive players as years goes on, because I think he'll be good on the ball, off the ball, unbelievable rebounder. I think he'll be able to block shots at any position, and he'll develop a better jump shot. His jump shot is definitely not flawed looking. His mechanics are pretty good. A good rotation on the basketball from what I've seen in the 2 times we played him. So I don't think we necessarily have to compare him to LeBron. Let's just let him be Ben Simmons, and he'll make his own mark.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Avery. You're down, obviously, at a traditional, really national powerhouse football program at Alabama. What's it like being a basketball coach at a school where football is king?
Well, first of all, we got to give our athletic director, Bill Battle, and all of the folks that were responsible for me being here credit for thinking outside the box. That you just couldn't bring anybody in this program, especially with the overwhelming success of football. So they decided to go down the same route and hire somebody that had some experience in the professional ranks, just like Nick Saban obviously, was with the Dolphins before he came here, and it's been great. Coach Saban and I have a strong relationship. He often says I've met with him more in a year than other staffs have met with him in 10 years. So we meet a lot. We talk a lot about sports. We talk a lot about leadership and student athletes and education and practice habits. So it's been great. I attend every football game I can possibly attend. When Coach Saban came off the stage after the national championship game, I was one of the first ones to greet him. So it's not really about basketball anymore, being in the shadows of football. We just want to partner with football and see if we can help each other.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if you would admit this, but if I'm you, I'm taking a picture of me hanging out with Nick Saban. It can't be a bad recruiting tool.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
It's got a little juice.
Yeah, you're right.
A
lot of my recruits have going to meet Coach Saban, and he's actually sent some recruits to meet me. So
okay.
It's it's like I said, I was asked that question in my press conference, every other question about being in the shadows of football and why did I take this job. Well, if you look at what Billy Donovan did at Florida, if you look at what Lyon's doing now at Oklahoma, you look at obviously Texas football is a little bit down right now, but if they get that going, so it's a lot of potential for a huge program like Alabama with a football, with all of the championships we won in football. It's possible for us to also have that same success in basketball.
That's Avery Johnson, coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, former Spurs player as well. And, of course, he played a few places, but he played with Tim Duncan. He's with us now here on Tiki and Tierney.
Yeah, you had 3 stops in San Antonio, Avery. Obviously, your last one from 94 to 2001, it overlapped Tim Duncan's entry into the NBA. And, obviously, unbelievable career that he had. But what's the one takeaway that you have from working with and being a teammate of Tim Duncan?
Well, Tiki, you appreciate this. First of all, and especially now, we love to throw this word superstar around.
Mm-hmm.
And we give, we kind of attach that word to people who really don't deserve it. Tim Duncan was a superstar. But more than anything, he was a selfless superstar. He was a man of humility. He cared more about winning than individual accolades. But you talking about competitive spirit, while, other guys were boisterous on the floor and trying to draw a lot of attention to themselves by foaming at the mouth or, whatever they do in all of their different hand gyrations, Tim was a competitive guy, man. And he just, didn't show it a lot on his face, but he was a winner. He was a force on the court, but also, Tiki, you appreciate this, it started in practice.
Yeah.
His practice habits were consistent. They were long. I mean, you come early, stay late, watch a ton of film. He was also a builder of men in terms of building up his teammates and not tearing them down. So what an incredible career. 19 years in San Antonio with the same coach, 5 championships. What David Robinson started, or George Gervin started, and David Robinson took the baton from George. Tim Duncan took it to an entirely different level.
Coach, really great perspective. Always had a lot of respect for you, the way you handle yourself. Class act, and good luck with Bama. I'm sure we'll be chatting during the season.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys, for having me on.
Take
Roll
care,
Tide.
Coach.